Well, hey, thanks so much. Appreciate everybody's time signing up today. My name is Tom Smedley. I'm on the ESRI defense team, and I am going to speak slower than my 60-second pitch yesterday, which I thought was a great opportunity to, talk about what each of us are doing on our teams and what we're providing to each other, what we're looking for in return. Appreciate Justin and Mark setting up this opportunity for industry to talk to this community of innovators and developers and really folks that are excited about helping out our uniform services. And certainly a challenging part of geography. When we think about dense urban areas and mega cities, that's been on the minds of the military for quite a while. In the Army, the TRADOC Mad Scientist initiatives have devoted a lot of energy to this mega cities, dense urban areas, and subterranean environments. And I'm glad to talk to you a little bit about what I do, what my company does, and what our product does in support of that. So I will do that through just a couple things. We are probably the largest privately held software company you never heard of. We say ESRI, not ESRI. Our founder can say it however he wants. He sometimes gets up on the stage and says it both ways. But he's been doing this since 1969, based out of Redlands, California. And then I'll talk about our product line, ArcGIS. But really what's important, I think, for you today is, well, how can ArcGIS support one of the 4 focus areas? And I think we've got a great piece in here on focus area number 3 and 4. So we are the market leader, the global leader in geographic information systems, or GIS. It's really about more than maps. It's about location intelligence as well. And we're a worldwide company, and my office is based out of Washington, D.C., Tyson's Corner to be exact. We are the 2nd largest regional office because we support all of the United States government. So when you think about the traditional 3-letter agencies in the IC, maybe that's CIA, NSA, DIA, NGA, but there are other 3-letter agencies that have a huge role in using location technologies. So think DOJ, the Department of Justice, DOI, the Department of the Interior, that manages all of our nation's land and natural resources. DHS, Homeland Security, including FEMA and ICE, Customs Border Patrol, TSA, all of those folks are there in the DC office, and we support them because I think the quote here from the Forrester Wave, location intelligence is really about understanding why things happen and when they happen, with the goal of, in our case, gaining a tactical advantage through better understanding. So for our operators that have to understand the dense urban areas, to understand the fabric of the city, to understand the activity of the block, and then the very specifics of the building, I hope today you'll come away with a little more appreciation of how geography can support that. We're used in a lot of places besides government. 90 of the Fortune 100 companies. Your tax parcel is probably managed on our technology in your county courthouse. And since we are privately held, we're proud of our percentage of revenue. We can't compete with Google and Apple on the dollar figure, but we spend 30% of our revenue on R&D, and that makes it an evolving platform for our users, for our customers, and folks like you that want to take advantage of location intelligence and a location platform like ArcGIS. It's not your father's ArcGIS. It has certainly changed just in the 6 years I've been here. And so if you've used it back in college, or used it back in the command line days or the ArcInfo days, it is a radically different platform. And some of that's due to changes in things like hardware. We went from 32-bit to 64-bit technology. And when we did that, we had to redesign our entire desktop product line to support that. But our technology does a lot of things. You can see a list here. Certainly traditional mapping is part of what we do. We don't have to be connected. The Army and the DoD a lot of times think that we don't understand their disconnected, intermittent, low bandwidth environment. But when you think about utility workers out there on the windmills in West Texas, pipeline workers in the middle of the Dakotas, forestry people in a vast swath of land far away from cell phone towers and Wi-Fi, we understand field operations. Certainly data science is coming on strong. We had a webinar today about integrating AI and one of our product lines into the data science community. Our imagery game is coming on strong, and we have some great partners out there in that space to do things in the image space versus what we call the map space. But our imagery tools are are really coming along. We're going to talk a lot today about 3D and developer tools, so I'll skip those. We integrate with a lot of other platforms out there. When you think about an enterprise IT system, you really have to be loosely coupled and tightly integrated with other teammates. And so you can see some of the headers across there. Certainly in the content world, providing rich data about our ever-changing planet is important. We have some great teammates for that. A lot of folks are saying cloud first. If you're familiar with the Department of Defense, we have the DOS and the JEDI contracts to move our enterprise systems and perhaps our more tactical systems to the cloud. The Army just announced they want to seek out their own JEDI, and yes, it does stand for something different, but they picked the same acronym. But again, excited about our ever increasing strength in the data science world. And if you're a developer, all of these words here mean something to you, and all of these platforms probably mean something to you. But although we are a software company, we build ArcGIS, we do have a lot of great data and location services that help you find where things are on the world. We're particularly proud of our Living Atlas. It houses some great data, including census data every 10 years from the Department of Commerce, the American Community Survey every 5 years, and then we have about 30 demographers, statisticians, and economists on staff that make our yearly predictions and our annual 5-year models in that data. Because if you want to understand the world, it's all powered by that rich data. So geographic information system, what is it? It's really about providing a framework and a process. And we liken it to an intelligent nervous system. It allows us to sense the world, and that sort of focus area number 2, right? We want to sense what's happening inside of the objective area. We want to understand what's happening so that we can respond to it. And when we think about our operators in the plan, prepare, execute, and assess, I think the intelligent nervous system fits that really well. It allows us to measure things. It could be, what's the height of the building? Can we reach it with our ladder? Can we reach it with our grappling hooks and our launching devices? Visualize and map the area, again, from the macro down to the block, down to, we want to probably map the rooftop of the building and see if we can, land a helicopter or fast rope some people in there. Analysis and modeling is provided by some exquisite geoprocessing tasks, algorithms, and now connection to AI and ML. Planning and design, you do that through space and time. You have just different teams, maybe a security team, an assault team, you have the command and control team, you've got the medical people, all that has to fit into the plan, and the plan occurs somewhere, sometime on the face of the earth. And it's really all about better decision making for our leaders and making sure everybody understands the plan so that we can take action. Now, it's a comprehensive geospatial platform when we say ArcGIS, and it is ArcGIS, not ArcGIS. So if I only leave you with 2 things today, remember ESRI and ArcGIS. But it is a services-based architecture. We're really moving away from the flat files and some of our legacy exchange formats. So if you've been in the GIS world and you talk about shape files, then we know you're a little bit dated. It's really all about REST endpoints and just connecting to other organizations through those URL links that are easily shared. It's distributed across environments, whether it's the desktop, the tablet and the phone, the apps. We distribute it as well across our security domains. We don't make a cross-domain solution, but I would tell you ArcGIS in government, and particularly DoD and the IC, is on the NIPR, the SIPR, and the JWICS networks, including some of our coalition networks. We're going to talk more about open and extensible. Is a COTS product, right? Contractor off the shelf. Does it have a cost involved? Yes. I really don't sell software. I sell licenses to unlock the software. But it is extremely open, and we'll talk more about that. We publish just about, we publish so much. We publish information about our APIs. We make our software development kits available to folks that want to use them. And so we rely on folks like you to extend that platform to make it resonate with our customers. Now, at a very broad piece, I like these 3 major muscle movements. ArcGIS can provide a system of record. It holds your data. It can hold your past data, your present data, and it's going to hold the results of your modeling analysis for your future data. And it can hold more than map type of data. It can hold files, it can hold photos, it can hold FMV, full motion video from drones and planes and things. And all that gets then layered with the system of insight, which is those powerful analysis tools, those analytical tools, models, and algorithms that take data and make sense out of it. Maybe it allows us to look at what happened in the past. Maybe it allows us to monitor what's happening now. But for commanders and operators, what they really want to know is what's going to happen next. Situational awareness is great, but situational understanding with a great, strong feeling about what's happening next, whether it's regards to the enemy, whether it's regards to the weather, whether it's regard to the local population and human geography, commander really wants to know what's next. He's got folks that can help him with the now, his battle captains and his staff. But what's next is important. But we have to share that out, and we make it much more accessible now through apps that probably look very familiar to the apps that reside on your personal device. You're very familiar, navigating with Apple Maps or Google Maps. Maybe you're very familiar finding a restaurant through Yelp and it's got some built-in navigation. Maybe you get your weather forecast from a geospatially enabled weather app. So these apps are what make it all happen and really take the complexity out of GIS. We really like to say that GIS is moving out of the basement and into the hands of every user in the organization. I just tell a quick story. My mom was in the Pentagon and the headquarters department of the Army G357 in the 60s, and she was in the typing pool. And if you needed something typed, you went to the typing pool. If you need it fixed, they fixed it for you. Well, then, technology changed and we started putting these IBM Selectric typewriters on everybody's desk, and people went to, well, I'll show my age, maybe me and Neil went to typing class in high school, right? And then we had this word processing program now that everybody just types and creates what they need. We believe that's what's happening now. We're in the throes of that with GIS. You don't go to the GIS department to get a map. You might go to them to get access to the technology, and with the data that's on your desk, you're going to make your own map and you're going to share it out through an application on your device. But fuel is really, the richness of this. The data is the fuel that drives all this. There's that common phrase that data is the new oil, and certainly that's true. The amount of data generated, these last years, eclipses all of the data in history of mankind before that. And so when you think about the seen into the unknown challenge in dense urban areas, you might agree that, having imagery from overhead, NADAR imagery from national technical means, from a plane, from a drone, that could be a powerful tool. But you might have tabular data about, if for some reason you're able to get that from the government or from other sources, you might have tabular data about each of those addresses. You might have information from open source intelligence. You might have information from social media. This is text files. This is PowerPoint presentations, PDFs. We now have the ability to bring that data in. And if 85% of data has a geospatial component, wouldn't you want that to be there? Vector is a word we use in the GIS community. Vector just means features. It means points, lines, and polygons. And those can be in 2 dimensions or 3 dimensions. And the 3-dimensional piece is really coming on strong. 3D GIS is just GIS, but it's using the Z-axis. And it's providing a real digital twin of how we see the world. And so for our operators, many of them have now grown up through the gaming experience and these first-person shooter games that are immersed into the battle space. Well, they want that same kind of piece, and we'll talk a little bit about that today. Some things are monitored in real time. We're connected to SCADA devices that could be presenting the output of our infrastructural systems, water, air handling, electricity, solar output, etc. I'm not going to get into big data a lot. I would tell you that big data was the shiny coin of the realm a couple years ago in the Department of Defense. They don't talk about big data anymore. Now they talk about AI and ML. We're certainly excited to be part of that. We're on a couple of initiatives with the Joint Artificial Intelligence Center that General Shanahan is running. We've supported some work with the Army AI community. We're excited for some things to come out next. LiDAR is a really exciting technology. It's used for surveying. It's used for collection about large swaths of land. We can put a LiDAR sensor on a plane and capture counties worth of data in a mission. The Army Geospatial Center runs the Buckeye program. that goes around the world and collects data on areas where we don't have great granularity about, but where we can also get a friendly plane in there. Think outside of the very hostile countries, China, Korea, Iran, etc. And then one of our latest developments in the data piece, which is tied to this built environment that we're looking to understand, is our strategic integration with the COTS technology providers like Autodesk, who bring out formats like CAD, computer-aided design drafting, and BIM, building information models. But now we have a direct connection to Autodesk format called Revit, so Revit, R-E-V-I-T. So now we're bringing the built environment and the natural environment together in one experience, one pane of glass, which is really exciting because it allows both of those communities to work better. So think about the urban planner, maybe using a GIS technology, and think about the architect and construction manager using a CAD, BIM, Revit technology, but now they can bring it all together and really, it's just going to go gangbusters here when we think about this next generation of infrastructure and connectivity through the built environment around the world. So we talked about the transition from the typing pool to the IBM Selectric to the word processing program. Well, those technologies have increased for GIS professionals. I don't want to hit on this too much other than say that the folks that really are running our GIS enterprises to provide the great data, the great web maps, the great ability to create web applications, have so many more tools to do exquisite things, to have analytical services against real-time Internet of Things sort of inputs, again, doing some great things with data science and big data, and it's all distributed, so any device, anywhere, anytime, you can have access to it. So I wanted to foot stomp this. I mentioned it earlier. I want to foot stomp it now. So really, ArcGIS as a COTS technology is a very open platform. So in the upper left, you can see that it's flexible. And so whether if you're familiar with REST and REST APIs and connecting to those different services, we've got you. If you want to build your own app using the runtime, we've got software development kits that'll allow you to do that. The FGDB is the File Geodatabase API. That's the heart of that system of record, the brain that keeps all that together. And the JavaScript API is a powerful one. I'll show you a slide of that in just a minute. Moving down into the left, it has to be interoperable. It has to be interoperable up and down the echelons of the military. It has to be interoperable to the left and right between our units and between our friendly nations. It has to be interoperable with our whole of government response. So many times that might be in this dense urban area, we might want to be interoperable with the fire department or the police or port security, et cetera, right? And we do that through a lot of different standards. And so if you're working on something and you talk to the mentors, you might ask them about the standards they're using in the platforms that they have their hands on today. I can speak from the Army's perspective. They have a set of data types and standards called the Standard Shareable Geospatial Foundation, and it's based off of OGC standards. And OGC is the Open Geospatial Consortium. Certainly, we would like for you to use the ArcGIS REST endpoints, but everything we publish, we can publish as an OGC service as well. So if you hear things from the mentors, and you may not, because I don't think any of them are really attuned to the geospatial world, but WMS, Web Mapping Service, WMTS, Web Mapping Tile Service, WFS, a Web Feature Service, WCS, Web Coverage Services. Those are all published by an international consortium, the OGC, that ESRI happens to be a board member on, and that's how we make it easy to share with NATO, to share with the Five Eyes, to share with the ABCANS Army, and that's how we can share across our programs of record in the military. In the upper right, open source. So we're very proud of our contributions to the open source community. We've got over 500 projects that you can grab today off of GitHub. You may have seen the ESRI leaflet in the lower right of a map, supporting a lot of open format specifications. And then the support to open science. Again, I said that's really something we're very excited about. We've now got some great tools with the Python API and ArcGIS for Python in our desktop and web applications. The power of R is coming on full force, and these condas and pandas. And so if you do have a lot of data, if you want to do some exquisite analysis and it's taking place somewhere on the earth, we'll help you show that on your own map that you develop. So why are we here today? How do I believe ArcGIS can help you? I love this graphic because it breaks it down into something simple. If you can't remember these 4 things, why are we here? It's probably too confusing. Certainly I said that, we do a lot of gathering of data, but the sensing of physical characteristics and the sensing of the activity, the exquisite things we heard about yesterday, what people are working on, whether it's using a millimeter wave radar or beaconing from mobile phones or a drone to capture the interior buildings. That is some cool stuff, right? That's the innovator technology that's using a drone, maybe using a photo, maybe using a video, maybe using exquisite imagery. We want you guys to do that. But I believe that once you have those outputs through a agreed upon data delivery in a usable format, you might put your data on top of a base map. That could be a canvas map, that could be an imagery map, that could be an open source street map, that could be a military installation map. There's a lot of maps out there to put your data on to create your own layer in 2D and maybe in 3D. Maybe you've built a 3D, what we call a 3D integrated mesh that you can bring into your environment so that the operator then can take advantage of the 4th focus area displaying that information. So I mentioned the Johns Hopkins COVID-19 dashboard. That thing has gotten, millions of hits every day since it came out. A lot of our organizations and users' dashboards are just absolutely, it's the go-to method to share data. But maybe the operator in the command truck, a block or so away is on a laptop. Or maybe the guy who's at the last covered and concealed position before they go into the building is on a smartphone or a tablet. They all have to share that same experience. And I think that we can help you do that, by looking at some of the things that ArcGIS can do to bring your innovative technology into the operator's hands. So I believe that this is an absolutely vital case for 3D GIS and 3D tools. It's what creates the digital twin. It's instantly recognizable. You don't have to, sort of do the mental conversion in your mind about what things in a 2D map look like compared to your eyes, which are in 3D around you. We've done a lot of work in this in the last couple of years, bringing in point clouds and BIM support that I talked about. You can see this slicer of this library down in New Zealand. You can see the data visualization at the large scale of the city and then getting down into the smaller areas. We're bringing in some great symbology that can be a model out of many of these model types that we're seeing in the gaming community. We're doing some great things with LiDAR. Again, that's those point clouds created. We're extruding off of, excuse me, just perhaps 2D data. If we have the Z-axis, we can extrude that and classify that. I'm going to talk to you and show you a little bit more about augmented reality, virtual reality, and XR, what is that, extended reality. Mobile scene packages that can be delivered to the disconnected device, and just a lot of cool ways to see the 3D world. But it's got to be more than the seeing piece, right? We need to be able to do analytics against that. And so that might be analytics of light and shadow. You can imagine the need for that in Hurricane Sandy up there in New York City, the flood impact. We might want to measure things. We might, of course, in our planning, we want to do line of sight and view shed as we position our forces, the security force, the assault force, etc. We want to know what kind of topography, if we're cross country, what we might be moving against. The interactive slice, you saw it in a building, but we can do that underground as well. So if we can, again, in our focus area 1, focus area 2, determine what's happening underneath the city block, wouldn't it be great to cut through that so that we could see it in a cross section? And we're bringing all those to life through these apps, whether it's our desktop app, ArcGIS Pro, our procedural rendering city engine. I'll talk more about that. All you need is a web link and a modern browser with WebGL for a scene viewer. And then we've got ArcGIS Earth, which is a free app you can download today for your have a mobile version of that. So we talked about the developer community. I think the innovators here that want to, take their technology and build something off of it. We've got tools to help you do that don't require a whole lot of code if you don't want to do that. If you just want to use a browser app that you don't need a license for, you just share it out to the public and your user hits a web link. The web app builder is a powerful way to do that. We've got nearly 1 million web apps created and deployed right now. We've got a new technology called Experience Builder that really goes mobile first and integrates 2D and 3D into one builder experience and one viewer experience that's built off the latest JavaScript 4.x. But if you want to build a native app, you can build a native app in our App Studio, share that out to the iOS Apple Store or to the Google Play Store or the Windows Store, and take that offline. Just a lot of great options on what to do with how you build your app. How do we do that? We do that through ArcGIS for developers. That's the piece I'm here for. That's the piece where if you say, hey, Tom, this all sounds great. How can I get access to try this out and mash it up with my innovative technology for the Seeing into the Unknown challenge? Just reach out to me and I'm going to get this to you gratis for the length of the challenge. It gives you a lot of these tools, right? It gives you all of the runtime SDKs. So if you're a .NET person, Qt, again, Android, uh, um, iOS, all of those things are there. The JavaScript API is a powerful one, access to the Python API, and then you'll get access to our desktop and server technology if you're interested in that as well. I told you I'd show you a little bit more on the JavaScript API. So it's high performance webs apps that are doing some great data driven visualization. And just, I mean, I think there's like a billion, we can now ingest a billion points of data into the JavaScript API now. You'll see some neat features here with the layer swipe. You can get in there and do some surveying and editing. Here's some more of our 3D environment and how we're showing our queries and filtering on that. And then our 3D scenes, again, a 3D scene is just out of the browser. So you don't need to own any software. You just share that out. And it's a really impactful way to visualize, I think, the built environment for the folks planning the operation. So I just got one more slide, and then I want to show you some more, or one or two more slides, show you some more live things. So why do I think this is important as we think about the transitioning of innovative technology to our users in uniform? I would tell you today that ArcGIS resides throughout the Department of Defense in the IC. We power the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency and some of the IC folks with geospatial technology. The analytical platforms that our soldiers are using. So think about, we call it the Defense Common Ground Station, and we call that DSIGs. We have DSIGs A for DSIGs Army. We have, because the Air Force has to be different, they're Air Force DSIGs. And we have the Army Geospatial Enterprise is sharing out geospatial products and capabilities to the Army. And for our mentors, the folks in the 75th Ranger Regiment who are part of Army Special Operations Command under the greater umbrella of US SOCOM down in Tampa, they have the SGE, the SOCOM Geospatial Enterprise. And so they're building on top of this technology. They're sharing things out quickly for a mission or for a scenario. And then when they're done, they just sort of hide the app. They archive the app. They don't need it anymore. The data is still there if they need to bring it back, but they don't need to clutter up, their devices with all of these laborious sort of different experiences. They create it, they deploy it, they use it, and they move on to the next one. And so we do that throughout the planning cycle. Our analysts are using it. We're understanding the environment. And we really want to do better with our operations and our situational awareness with really a goal of what's happening next, situational understanding. That's all fed by this data and these sensors that are coming in. And it doesn't matter really what domain you're in. You may hear our military talk about the multi-domain environment. That's, of course, the land. That's, of course, the sea and the air. That is, of course, the above the land, on the land, and below the land in the subterranean environment. But now with the creation of Space Force, and you've heard a lot about cyber, we have 5 domains, and we want to support all of those domains. It doesn't matter where you're at. If you're on point with your patrol, just connected to a radio, or you're looking at the screen in your vehicle, or you're in the command post, we are sharing that out and having great success connecting to other applications in the DoD. a little better use case examples, because I heard a lot of this yesterday on some of the tools that people want to use to create this experience for the operators. So really coming on gangbusters with the AR, VR, XR, and game engines experience. So I do want to step you through just a couple of quick snips out of a video. I posted these in the ideas. If you've looked at them once, I appreciate that. If you haven't seen them, maybe this will give you an idea of to generate your interest to go back and watch that video. But notice that our GIS data is going to go into one of our current projects, City Engine. City Engine is what created Zootopia. City Engine created the Las Vegas scene in Blade Runner, what is it, Blade Runner 2049. City Engine's been a part of a lot of Academy Awards for the entertainment community, but now we're seeing it really powering more of these VR experiences and these gaming communities. The second one, the ArcGIS plugin for Unity Unreal, it's in orange, it's new, it's not quite there yet. Again, I'm here today to hopefully whet your appetite to keep an eye on this space. So let's see, I think I'm gonna need to stop sharing and resharing. Oh, here we go, share. Should be looking at a set of buildings on the earth, and you might see these faint lines running through that. Can I get a north-south from somebody? I think Neil's, or I think Mark's giving me a north-south. Okay, so the DARPA Subterranea challenge, very similar to this challenge, right? A new environment that we want our forces to fight in. They went out and collected a lot of great LiDAR data, and they produced this great video of the LiDAR data on YouTube. Unfortunately, this data was just sort of sitting in black space. So we took that data and we brought it into the ArcGIS platform, and we made the Earth transparent or semi-transparent. So now you get a real sense of the amount of data that they collected at this mine as part of the DARPA Subterranea Challenge. So this is millions and millions of point cloud points that have been colorized, and you can drive and maneuver this thing, look at the different entrances. You might want to, this of course does better like anything on a wired connection, but you get a sense of, now you get a sense of the mine and what they were working on. This was part one of the DARPA Subterranea Challenge and the vast extent of it. And so it's really helpful, and if you've heard me post, you've heard me talk, I really think the operators need to understand the greater context. So if you've got this exquisite solution that helps them navigate across floors and see what's happening behind walls, I think that's powerfully important, but you've got to be able to really place that in context. And so now the actual tunnel is going to come in, and we have some gaming controllers. You could actually sort of march through all of these tunnels and check them out. So let's go to a couple of things in this video. So here's the slide I just showed you, and then I'm going to move ahead just a little bit. And so now we've got the built environment, right? So this isn't necessarily a super dense area, but we're able to bring the known and the planned into our mobile VR demo. So this is our first example. We said that we could port out of City Engine into that. And then I want to go forward to about here. So then this is a more premium experience. So this is City Engine into a premium VR app. This is sort of that tabletop look where we can change the scenario, we can change the lighting, we can change the navigation. So this might be something that the operators are using in a hastily acquired gym or warehouse, conducting their final rehearsals before they move out to actions on the objective. And then I want to move into the interaction with Unity and Unreal. So this is an exciting piece. We're excited about our emerging alliance with both Unity and Unreal. Exquisite detail, exquisite texturing. You've got some great, you can see the light and the shadows changing as we move through this. The extended reality, I think, is really going to be what our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines demand over this next generation of modernization in the Department of Defense. And because you're interacting with the game engine, now you can bring some more reality, more game-focused tools in here, whether it's people. I'm excited. We're going to work with the Army Geospatial Center on this over the next year or two to bring GIS data into that. I'm going to pause here. So I think the next one then is going to be into the runtime. So now we're going to do GIS into the runtime. And so this is available now for production use, AR for mobile platforms, not VR or MR yet, but it's delivered with those runtime SDKs that I said I would be glad to help anybody work with to get access to. And then the last one is what's coming. So this is the ArcGIS plugin for Unity Unreal. We hope to have the beta released this summer, and by 2021 have that ready to go for everybody. And this is really powerful because when you bring in, you know, the powerful rendering tools and physics and modeling of the game engine, you can really do some exquisite things with the physics, animation, and other effects. Here you can see our partnership with those gaming companies. These plugins are going to provide those API access into that arena. Local and global experiences. Generally, when we think of local experiences, the horizon is horizontal, global is that curved, larger scale piece. And we're going to be able to just bring in the authoritative information that folks are already holding in their system of record. So if you've got great elevation data and great imagery, you can bring that into the experience. If you've got 3D objects or an integrated mesh or a point cloud from all those drones and SLAM sensors, et cetera, you can bring those in. And then if you've collected information, the points, lines, and polygons about the world, you can bring that into the experience. And then I'm just going to step you through here at the end. Now we're in the Unity player, and he's just going to bring in some of his data. This is from our Living Atlas. Remember, I said we've got some great data, although we're a software company. And he's going to bring in some flat files. And now he's going to. This is not a picture. This is real GIS data now, right? This is an elevation service. This is imagery, and it's hard to see in this video, but he's highlighted the contour lines, so you get a real sense of that. And now we're operating in the experience. So stand by for that coming soon. Let's see. I'm going to stop sharing. All right. Somebody give me a NorthSouth. We're looking at a complete mapping and analytics platform for developers. I think Neil's giving me that. So this is where you can sign up for free. It's developers.arcgis.com. This is where you can reach out to me because the free version, of course, is going to give you limited capabilities. But all those things I talked about, the 2D and 3D visualization, the maps and the data, access to demographic data, spatial analysis, and the creation of all those software development kits and APIs, that resides in there. And I learned about this challenge, and we're standing by to share that out with folks that want to use it for the length of the trial. That is all I have today. I'm certainly standing by to answer questions. I appreciate Neil and Rachel and Julia joining us today from around the country. And thanks again to Justin for giving industry the opportunity to support the challenge. But standing by for questions.
Yeah, Tom, this is Neil. You touched on, in a couple slides, real-time data. And then you also talked about a REST API. I was curious, to what extent can there be a stream of real-time data into the map environment?
So we have a new service. So I was listing map services, feature services, coverage services. So we now have a capability called streaming service. And that's done through one of our products called GeoEvent. And GeoEvent is the tool we created to connect to the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things could be messages like position reports from Blue Force Tracker on our military vehicles and soldiers. It could be a connection to the SCADA community. So that could be outputs of pressure, temperature, and RPM on air handling units, for example. So we bring all those inputs into GeoEvent. we geospatially georeference them. Where are they? And then the capacity has gone through the roof. You know, in the beginning it was something like 10,000 a second. Now I think it's something like 500,000 a second. Some of it's an I/O challenge for your hardware and your connectivity, right? Some of it is displayed transiently, right? You know, on your dashboard. But then we have a capability, the ArcGIS for analytics server, to bring that, you can imagine, ever cascading amount of data. We can actually store it. And so now you can do analysis on the data. So it's more than just seeing it come in and where is it. You can conduct analysis on it. So Geo Event server for ArcGIS and streaming services is something you might want to Google to check out, or send me a note.
Yeah, fantastic. And then two other really short questions. As far as LiDAR data, you get all this, these point clouds, which are just unwieldy.
Mm.
Yet, is there any functionality to reduce down that data set in some
Yeah,
fashion?
you can. So the word we hear sometimes is thin. You can thin it out, and you might share it out as a low, medium, and high resolution data set. The data set I showed you of the Brewston mine from DARPA Sub-T was actually a
Mm-hmm.
thicker data set than the original one they put out, because the original one was a little inelegant, right? Not that that one's fantastic. It's not a representation of the real world, but it's extremely accurate. You know, it's down to centimeter accuracy. So yeah, there are ways to classify your lidar, and that can help you reduce the size of it. You know, once you look at that data, you may realize you only need some of it, right? For example, we're using lidar and AI to collect information about the power grid. The power company really only cares about the poles, insulators, and lines, not the things on the ground around it. So they can, uh, I guess for lack of a better word, crop out the things they don't need and make it more efficient. And when you do that, not only does it save size in transmitting it, but of course your analytics are going to run much faster against a smaller set of data. Great question.
Yeah, great. Okay, the last question is regarding the 2D map data. So is that being pulled from, say, Google or Maxar or some other provider?
Well, Neil, you know we don't say Google.
Oh.
um, and we're super proud of the role Google and Google Maps has played in the consumerization of location technology. Don't get me wrong. Our base maps reside in the cloud. They're part of ArcGIS Online and the Living Atlas that's hosted on AWS,
Mhm,
or they're hosted on-prem. You can bring our base maps into our server technology behind the firewall and share them out through the web adapter via a set of web links. We
mhm,
do have some great partners. We partner with folks, like you said, Digital Globe, Maxar.
mhm,
We partner with some of the satellite imagery companies around the world. We're very blessed to have the government share out their information through their industry partner, ESRI. So we have Landsat imagery data from the beginning of the program, 1972. We have a Landsat app. You can search through time. Remember back in the day, you know, the resolution data, the EOS data. So a lot of our partners in government, like the Geological Survey, the Department of Agriculture, they're sharing out their imagery and maps through our technology, just off of a web link, right? And
mhm.
then you can have a zip and ship. You cut out the information you need, and you can download that as a cache to bring into your environment if you're not connected. But um, uh, just a wealth of data out there. I would urge you, after you do a search for geo event for ArcGIS, just search out Esri's Living Atlas and type in base maps in the search, and you'll see a plethora of maps. And some of the maps aren't detailed. Sometimes you want to display your data over a light or dark gray canvas, or over a very dark blue-black map, to make a really eye-catching product. So all of those, of course, are highly accurate. They just don't look like a map we're used to. They're more of a palette to put your work against.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. Thanks for joining me. All right. Justin gave me an hour, and I'll give you back 9 of your minutes. Again, thanks for the group for listening. Again, I'm Tom Smedley. On social media, I'm at Army Map Guy. I hope you'll follow me on Twitter or Instagram, or just send me a note at tsmedley, S-M-E-D-L-E-Y at esri.com. But have a great rest of your Tuesday.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Tom. We'll also be posting this video on via Teams, so you guys can watch it later, and other people can watch it later, and hopefully they'll reach out to you with some other questions.
Yeah, and watch the video on my ideas page on the challenge tab. You can see that whole video.
All right.
All right.
Thanks so much, Tom.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thanks, Tom.
Bye.